fly in the sky. I can go twice as high. Take a look, it's in a book, a reading rainbow. I can go anywhere. Friends to know and ways to grow, a reading rainbow. I can be anything. Take a look.
I want to welcome everybody to this episode. It's the welcome back episode. It's the glitches, first of the year. You know, stuff just don't want to work right. It's a beautiful, beautiful day in this neighborhood. Shout out to my man, Mr. Rogers. But I wanted to come back this year with some positivity, and it looks like we need it. But I wanted to come with some positivity. I want to continue on the entrepreneurship train because at its root, even though I like to have fun during these happy hours, the Critical Hustle brand is really about entrepreneurship and about building success amongst people and inspiration. So I want to do something that I think is very rarely discussed, and I have the privilege of knowing two couples that are doing this. Is actually, let's say, yeah, I'll see if I can do the math right. It's a couple of people that I knew who became couples. One was already a couple, then but the other two became a couple, and then they coupled independently to start businesses. So really, it's three couples on tonight's episode as we talk about entrepreneurship. So it's a whole coupleation, couple entrepreneurship. I'm making up words. I had my Reading Rainbow song on here, but I do want to introduce them all at the same time. Yeah, actually, I'm gonna let them introduce themselves because with all that coupling, it's a whole lot of like introductions. And today we're gonna talk about couplepreneurship. Here we go.
What up?
How's,
What
every-
up?
how's
Hey,
everybody doing?
we're good.
Hey, what up? What up?
Let me just say that was the most ignorant introduction I've put on the earth, but it'll smooth out later. So here's where I'm gonna first of all make a mistake, so you guys can just correct me now. I call you guys dirty and nasty, and now everybody's like, who? My wife tells me to stop doing that because she looks at me like I'm crazy because you say, yeah, so I talk to dirty and nasty, and then I say something completely logical after I say dirty and nasty, and she's like, wait, who and what are you talking about? I was like, but that's the beauty of the name. That's the beauty of the name. Like, they're the most logical brothers I've ever met. But then I just be like, yeah, so dirty and nasty. We were talking. So I'm gonna do it by what's here. I gotta separate you guys, but Brandy and Neek, introduce yourselves and tell us about your business.
Okay, my name is Nick Roots. So we have Curators of Dopeness, which is vintage clothing. Right here with my queen right here.
He been on his queen kick, y'all. Don't.
Yes, come on, queen.
Yes, my king. As my king has introduced me, I am Brandy, my Asia. Daisies and pancakes, better half of Neek, Curators of Dopeness.
Also, one half of Dirty and Nasty, rap tag team champions. Like you said, there's a lot of businesses intermingled on this conversation today.
Coupleation. I'm gonna use coupleation.
Yeah, it really is, right?
It's three couples.
There's coupleations. I should have got my wife in here and been like, yeah, talk about your business too. No, but so then I'm gonna move over to what is my right, and I'm gonna let you guys introduce yourselves because again, I will call you what I know you as, and publicly you guys don't live that life. So please go ahead.
So my name is David Landry, and I am one half of Class Bookstore.
And I am the other half. Some might say the better half, depends on who you ask. And I'm Dara Landry, and so I am the co-owner and I guess co-founder of Class Bookstore. So also known as She Landry, also known as no, I'm kidding. I'm gonna act right. I'm gonna act right.
Give them all the titles. Give them all the titles.
And I'm also one half of Dirty and Nasty.
So that's two halves making one whole, and then 1/4 of like a quadruplet tag team of success in blackness.
It's like a triple.
It's like this, and then it's like this.
And then when you twist them, in the middle, it's like this. No, okay.
And then it's this. That's the new gang sign.
It's a whole sign. It's a whole gang sign of relationships.
This is basically our Survivor Series team right here.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
There
you go. With a universal captain. I feel you guys. So, like I tried to allude to in my horrible introduction, I should start writing these down. But one of the things I think is important, entrepreneurs, like actually, as I've known all of you, you guys have always been in some form of entrepreneurship. I mean, just from in terms of being in a group. Brandy, when I met you, you were the consulting, you were teaching or counselor and consulting or some form of education. I don't remember exactly, but that. And so I think it's really amazing to watch. Like the best part about doing this show is everybody I've talked to is somebody I know. So looking at the growth of just how thought processes have developed over the last 10 years or so, and seeing how things, I don't know, 10 years at least for me, and seeing how you guys have like grown into where you are now, and it's weird to say it because I'll say this, somebody once told me that being rap is like being a Peter Pan. You're a grown man playing a kid's game. And that always kind of stuck with me. So I feel like I've known you guys since I was a teenager, and now we're all grown, married, like settled down, and it's just like, yeah. So, these businesses.
I can agree with that with the rap game. I can agree with that. Yeah. I mean, we're all essentially big ass teenagers, right?
Right. Just having fun, using our words.
Yeah.
Hey, we're blessed to be able to do that still.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's definitely a blessing. I think I want to start. It's weird. I want to start with how did you guys decide? I mean, of course, partnering up with your significant other is kind of a natural thing, like because that's who you're going to talk to about whatever your idea is or whatever you're doing. One of the things that I use as an example, when I met my wife when we were dating, I told her I was looking for Michelle Obama, and most people think that means like a certain level of success, and I was like, no. It's just that this man rolled over next to her and said, you know what? I'm going to run for president, which at the time probably sounds like the craziest thing a black man could say. And she was like, you know what? Go ahead. We can do it. And so when I think about the partnership of building a business and doing that, at some point an idea is pitched. And I guess I'll start with Brandy and Neek. Who played devil's advocate? Like who was poking holes when you guys decided to start that?
I don't know.
I don't really think we did.
Yeah, I think it's a mindset. I think it starts off with a mindset.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have to be an entrepreneur in here first. So I feel like you said, you met us, a long time ago, and we've always been entrepreneurs. And it's just always grown. Like I know for me personally, growing up, that's what I've seen, like my dad was an entrepreneur. My uncles were entrepreneurs. You know what I mean? I didn't know really how to frame it in that kind of, framework. But yeah, my dad had all kind of things. He had photography shops. He had a video store. You know what I mean? Like he was always, searching for the next thing. So I know for me, that's where I get it from. And I'm kind of I feel like it found us. Like, I don't feel like we went out and found it. I feel like it found us. What would you say?
Like the other day we were talking and I was remembering a point where Nick had a job and it was just not a good fit. And it was really stressing out, and when your significant other is stressed out, you're stressed out because you want everybody to be happy. You don't want that for them. And we talked about the job, and I was like, quit that goddamn job. Sorry. Quit it. Leave it. Who cares? Find another one. You're a hustler. You're gonna get it done. We're not dealing with a scenario where he's like, I'm going to quit and I'm not going to work. No, he already had other stuff lined up. He was just thought it was going to be a career path, and it just was not the good fit, And so I was not about to convince somebody to stay in misery. You know, I want to see this, my man, my king flourish in all ways. Like, baby, quit that job. Go do whatever.
And so in business, I'm sorry.
Yeah, because I was getting to the one point. I'll wrap it up real fast. He was like, I was like, but what do you want to do? You know, because, you know, this career kind of, you know, it was a heartbreak is what it was. I thought this was going to lead to something and it didn't. And it's not going where I need it to go. And I don't want to ride this train no more. I want to get off. Get off. But what's the new train? Where are we going? And he was like, and it was a heated, passionate conversation, not an argument, just a conversation about the direction of your life. And I want to be an entrepreneur was the first thing he said. Well, then be it. And so, mind you, the idea for Curators of Dopeness came about a couple of years later. And I just remembered that the other day, and we were driving out, and I brought up the memory just like this. I said, baby, you know what I remember? Because I know you don't. You called this. You claimed this. And he was like, what you talking about? And I was like, you remember that conversation, da-da-da-da-da? And your explanation, you exclaimed, I want to be an entrepreneur. Look at you now, King. Like, look at you now. So,
but yeah, like in business, most people are looking for, you know, like you have some people like their top priority is money. Like how much money can they make? Like that's what's important to them. They don't care how many hours they got to put in. That's what they want. Mm-hmm. Other people, they want status. They don't care what they got to do. You know what I mean? How much money it pays them or it doesn't pay them. You know what I mean? Just the status of a job. And then you have other people who want security. You know what I mean? They'll put up with a lot of, you know what I mean, crap from their jobs or whatever, just as long as they have the security of a job. But then you have people who want autonomy. And I think I'm one of those people. I think we're both, you know what I mean, those kind of people. I think that's who entrepreneurs are. You know what I mean? You want to control your own time and control your own freedom. So like the name Curators of Dopeness, like everything is a seed and everything was been planted. Like me and my brother David, we came up with this name in 2011. 2012 when we went to A3C in Atlanta. We were going to a bunch of seminars and I believe it was the Combat Jack show in Maceo. They were interviewing him and he was talking about how back in the day, how De La Soul, the people that they bonded with the most was NWA, and how, you know what I mean, you wouldn't really think based on the music that they would really click, but that they did. And they got to talking about the music and the art and they were like, man, we used to be curators of dopeness. But now we just let anything through. And, you know what I mean, there used to be steps and we used to take, you know what I mean, care over the culture. So when I heard that, man, it's like when the muses, they tap you on the shoulder and they speak to you. It's like, I turned to David, I was like, man, we're going to use that name for something. I was like, that name's going to be something. And look at it, like, what are we, 10 years later almost? Curators of Dopeness.
Yeah. So we were already thrifting, right? We were thrifting. Neek's the shopper of the relationship. He loves to shop.
Don't lie. You like to shop too. Don't lie.
You like it more than me. But okay, I'm gonna sip my hot chocolate. It's not alcohol, I promise.
Well, okay.
So he, you know, started thrifting and started reselling some stuff. And the place that he was reselling a lot of stuff to was like, wow, where are you getting this? You got a good eye. And he gave him some tips. So when he came home and I was like, wow, and went and, you know, he was able to like trade in some stuff and buy me a pair of Jordans, and I was in love. I was like, yo, this is what we doing. And so he's like, yeah, I think I want to do this. And I was like, do it. What you gonna call it? He was like, Curators of Dopeness. I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. He was like, I need you to help me. What you need? I got you, right? So there was no devil's advocate. I was like, what? I'm in. Let's do it. And he was like, and I think you need to call it Daisies and Pancakes. And I was like, say less. And we went from there.
If I can jump in, because something you said I think is really important, and it tells to the point of being a couple. It's something special about the fact of the encouragement is great, but the point when he says, this is what I'm going to do, and he says, look, I'm going to need your help. Like, I think a lot of times just in relationships, being in that place to sit there and say, you know what, I got this idea, I need your help. Even for me. So the great part for me in this whole process with my wife, she does all the flyers. She's a teacher. Nice. She jumps on Canva and she'll do a flyer. And I'm like, she's like, you could easily do it. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't want to spend the time. Like, but you know, it's just those small little things that allow for you to start seeing the growth. You know, it's one less thing, or it's something saying, hey, you're better at this than me. And so I think that part, out of everything you said, is wonderful. Like, I think it's great to be able to find something that you're passionate about and turn that into a business. But I think it's a testament to the relationship to be able to feel, as a guy, to feel that vulnerable to be able to say that. You know, there's a comfort, there's a love there. And I think that that's something that a lot of people don't get to think about when trying to partner with their significant other. Because
Well, yeah, it should be like a yin and a yang kind of relationship. And I'd say I'm lucky and I'm fortunate because having a rap partnership with David taught me a lot about being in a group with somebody else and having somebody else to have to consider and to bounce ideas off of, and having somebody have your back. You know what I mean? Like, I've always been a fan of duos. You know what I mean? I'm a big sports person, so like, you know what I mean? Jordan and Pippen, you know what I mean? Even like wrestling, all the great tag teams, you know what I mean? I just always love that dynamic of, like, you can see it, man, when like two people are in sync, man. Like, it's
right.
like you can't mess with it, man.
No, that's great. So David and Dar, let's talk about your business, because you guys, it makes, for me knowing you guys, it makes perfect sense. Like, this is like the perfect business for you guys. What I found to be kind of like the impressive part about it is that it wasn't digital. It wasn't. It was like, no, we got books, and you guys have pushed books. So I kind of want to go into a little bit of, how did you guys decide? Even though, like I said, it was perfect. How did you guys decide that in this day and time when everything's being pushed away from the physical book, to do a bookstore?
So 2012, I was running around different places, and I knew I wanted to open a shop. And I had the name and everything, and I was talking to people. I was like, man, I want to open a shop. I want to open a shop. Fast forward 2015, I read an article, and the article said that in the entire United States, there were only 39 Black-owned bookstores. 39. And this is 2015. And the stores were closing. So there were less as this article was being written. So Dara turns to me. We went to LA, and she was like, David, we got to open a bookstore. And I mean, I guess you could kind of talk about what was in your mind at that time we was taking that trip.
Well, yeah, I will rewind to even before that. I do want to say that books have always been a part of our relationship.
Yeah.
It's been a natural fit since that David and I met in a bookstore. Forever 21 in the Galleria used to be Borders. And
Yep.
David worked at Borders, and it was 2009, 2008 when I walked through the door and I met David for the first time. And our relationship actually blossomed through knowing each other at a bookstore. So we always shared a love of books. And I would just like to add, in a relationship, pillow talk beats everything. And so a part of our pillow talk is just those dreams and hopes and desires. And David going, man, I want to open a shop, and I want to do this. And me watching David buy books, and both of us like just loving books. And anytime we would visit a city, that was our thing. We would take a trip and we would find out, we wanted to know where Black people were, and we wanted to find a Black-owned bookstore if there was one in the city. And so in 2015, we went to LA, and we went to a Black-owned bookstore. Shout out to Esau One. And we talked, and the dude just gave us the game. He was just like, yo, oh yeah, do this, you got to join that, you should do this. He was super supportive. And I was like, we're going to do this in Houston. Like, we're going to bring a bookstore to Houston. And both of us having a background in education, in a world where everybody goes digital, and we both worked for HISD, and watching HISD build new schools and making their libraries smaller, it just broke our heart. Yeah. It broke our heart as lovers of books, as lovers of reading, and just realizing that we felt like that what was missing. And we wanted to be, like Meek was saying, some people want to do stuff to get rich. Some people want to do stuff to have autonomy. Like, we really want to impact the culture, and we really want to raise a generation of readers and help people fall in love with reading again, and hopefully through actual tangible book.
Yeah. So I want to put something here, because it was brought up that people want to find your businesses. you know, where to go. I will say personally, I told Nick, I think the last time I showed you, I feel like I have a personal shopper for everything unique to the Clippers and the USC Trojans. And so
Oh yeah.
if it's any better feeling in the world, and here's something that I always tell people, I think the secret to getting rich is you make people feel like they're in the 1%. So even as small of a thing as it is, getting a message saying, so I got this Clipper shooting shirt, right?
Yeah, buddy.
Do you think you want it? And I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh, how much is it? It's like, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna go and I can sneak that in the house. Because that was a sneak in. That was a complete sneak in of like, yeah, I'm about to go buy another shirt and I'm about to go out. Yeah, I know it's COVID, but it's a shirt and it's been waiting for me. Let me go on and hold that real quick.
Oh yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
but I think that I honestly think that is the secret to any business. You know, it's a service. And you know, part of it in breaking down a business, even from a consulting standpoint, is what problem are you trying to solve? You know, like what problem are you really trying to solve? And I think both of you guys, in guys being a group, it is magic because you hit a unique need, a unique niche. I mean, even with the skating, like with the skates, you didn't even talk about the skates. Like I can't tell you. Well, actually, I can't tell you. It's been about 10 years since I've thought about putting on a pair of roller skates.
Yeah.
And then I've gotten to this place in life where now I just want to be an individual to the point of, hey, if I'm gonna get skates, I want the skates to be unique to me. Like I want people to be like, so those are skates.
Where'd you get those?
Right.
What are those?
No, you know what?
Like,
I don't want them to ask me where they got it from. I want them to feel like they can't get it. like I want that level of,
exclusivity, yes.
I mean, I'll tell them where I got it from because one, it's your business and I know you. But more importantly, I just don't want them to feel they can get it. I'm trying to I need to get rich so I can just buy the most unique, rare shoe and turn that into a skate and be like, I wish you would. I wish I would. But, you know, I think that's what I've enjoyed about watching, as far as for the bookstore, as it begins. What I enjoy seeing, I think you had a post today. Somebody asked if you had The Alchemist, and you was like, "No, but I could get it." I was like, "Books on demand? Books on demand." Listen, I'm in a book club, and I recommended The Alchemist, so I'm all about that book. But that's a whole nother.
Yeah.
We're gonna read that with the kids.
We're gonna have the kids read that.
We've been planning it for a while, and so one kid is on punishment. And he's like bored. We're like, get a book. And I was like, oh, wait, we're supposed to be reading The Alchemist. This is the opportune time to do it. And I had pulled it up on Amazon. I was like, wait, how many do I need? 5. And I started adding it up in my head. And I was like, oh, hell no. I didn't know Amazon B. That's just my homies, you know? So.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think, you know, I mean, now I'm going to go into a little bit deeper of this. But you know, the undertones of a lot of conversations over the last year have been about Black business, about supporting Black business, about network and creating a network. And I think what's great is that's the uniqueness of it, you know, because the choice is Amazon or my friends. Well, why would I go to Amazon when my friends can get books? Like, I can make a call and feel trusted that it's going to get here, that I don't have to worry about nothing. And if there is an issue, I can look them in the face, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think that is one of the stronger things that I'm starting to see, you know, coming out of COVID is there is a large push towards entrepreneurship. There's a push towards people wanting to be entrepreneurs. I think I've gone to some of the events that you've done as Curious Dopeness, and you know, you see all these different businesses out in a parking lot. You know, it's like the greatest pop-up shops ever because they're in like these just random remote places.
Yeah,
and you guys have a store.
Turn this into a party. Yeah,
you guys have a pop-up store because you get a tent. I'm telling you, if you're in Houston, you got to just find an event that they're at because it's a tent. It's almost like I might be wrong, but I feel like there's like a rug that the stuff sits on. Like you're not even barefoot on the ground there. Like
we have different setups. We curate our setup based on the events.
They're real classy with it. Real
classy. Yeah. It's like imagine walking into a Gap everywhere outside. Like it just feels super organized. They got I wish I had pictures because I would just like to show pictures of if you're doing pop-up shops and you're a small business, like there's a model that you probably should follow, because I feel that it's a thrift because there's so many different things. It's unique, but the way you display it really does make you say, I feel like I gotta buy something.
Yeah.
Like I genuinely, when I come to you guys, I'm usually coming to pick up something, but I do find myself looking through the rack, like, let me just see what they got in a grown man size. What they have,
Right.
what they have in grown man, like, and that's the other thing is great. I get to request grown man sizes. Like if you
Yeah.
find a jersey in a 2X, I need you to hit me first.
I got you. I got you. But yeah, it always starts out with the original rule, and really, in my opinion, the only rule, the golden rule. You know, treat others how you want to be treated, and that comes from hospitality. Like I've been in the hospitality industry for a long, long time, and man, kindness and just being courteous to people, man, that'll solve a lot of problems, and that'll get you really, really far.
Yeah.
Like you'd be really, really surprised. Like even if you have to suck it up and do it, like it's the solution to a lot of problems. And like you were saying, riches and niches. And so like people like the feeling, like the boutique feeling like they have personal shoppers and that they're being personally curated for. And so who better to do that with than with your friends and with your people. And
Right.
like my lady was saying, everything's intentional. So everything's a complete thought, you know what I mean? And all of that comes from learning from books, you know what I mean? And from English teachers just teaching you, you know what I mean, how to have a complete thought, right? And how to process things. And all, yeah, and all of this, man, you know what I mean? It goes throughout your whole life. All these lessons, you just build on them.
Yeah.
So let me ask you both this, and jump in however you want to. What is the hardest part about working a business, a partnership with your partner?
Yeah,
Ooh,
King,
man.
what's the hardest part?
Oh, am I answering first? Is that what's going on here?
You about
I
to
mean,
queen me to
answer
death.
at your level of safety. That's my
I think I know what my answer is, but I want to.
It really is a team. You know what I mean? It really is a team. And with any team, you know what I mean? You know sports, you know what I mean? And it takes time to get that rhythm sometimes and learn each other's, you know what I mean, motions, or you know what I mean, like how they react in certain situations, because you know what I mean, people are different in relationships than they are at work or in business. And so just learning where somebody's strong and where somebody's weak, and acknowledging that in yourself and being able to say that, hey, I may not want to hear this right now, but I know that I need to hear this, or I know, or I trust this person's vision. You know what I mean? One thing I learned in the rap group in Dirty and Nasty was like what, you know what I mean, picking and choosing your battles too. You know what I mean? Like I know when my brother really advocates for something, I always ask myself in my head, I'm like, all right, how important is this thing to me? It's obviously really important to him. If it's not so important to me, then I'll be like, all right, we'll rock with your way. But if I feel equally strong about it, then we'll talk it out and we'll hash it out and we'll go with the better plan. And I think just honesty and communication, like I said, just going back to the rap group, and it extends out to the relationship too. Like Dara said, pillow talk. You know what I mean? Like me and David would just talk for hours and hours as a group. Like he'd be at my house, I'd be at his house, and we just talk out our hopes and dreams and what we wanted, what we researched, what we looked up. Like we know each other like the back of our hand at this point. You know what I mean? Like, you know, what's understood don't need to be said. Like all the talking and all the communication, like I know when he's gonna cut left, you know what I mean, 3-4 plays before he does it. You know what I mean? I can already throw the ball there and look and just be like touchdown.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that's the play. And you have certain, you learn plays. You know what I mean? We have stuff that we do in the pop-ups, certain like just things that we do to get people in the mood to shop, to convince people to want to buy, because it's a dance. You know what I mean? It is a dance. And you have to read and feed off of people and feed off of her. So, you know what I mean? She may help put the jacket on the person, and I'll come swing around and hold the mirror up.
We used
You
to
know what I
Morris
mean?
Day before COVID. We used to
Yeah,
Morris
you know
Day,
what I mean?
like, check it out, spin it around. Oh, you look
Yep.
good.
And while I'm holding the mirror up, she may say, yeah, you can wear this like this and like this and like that and like that. And then, you know what I mean, she's already processing them, and I'm already, you know what I mean, packing the stuff up for them and folding it up and putting it in. And
Taking pictures.
And she's taking pictures and I'm taking payment, and all this just happens so smoothly to where the person just like,
I never
Oh,
got my
man.
jacket put
You
on.
know what I mean?
They walk out feeling like, yo, I just had an experience. Because we're selling the experience, you know.
Yeah.
But we're not selling
just-
them the clothes, we're selling them the experience, and our goal is to empower people. So we just want you to leave out of this tent better than when you came in.
Yeah.
Even if it just means you talking about your day, or you talking about your hopes and your dreams, or just whatever, the game or whatever. You don't have to buy nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because somebody gonna buy it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's dope. So somebody gonna buy it, but just, you know, it's wearable art. So we appreciate people, you know what I mean, coming in and looking and appreciating what we're picking and what we're curating.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think to hear you explain how you and David know each other for so many years, for so long, like staying up talking, that relationship takes time to build. And that was, you know, so we have a relationship and we decide to go into business. And I quickly realized this is a new relationship.
Mm-hmm.
This business relationship is a new relationship because it's within a real relationship, you know. So I think one of the hardest things, I think it's gotten better, but like, I think we even had a little moment today where sometimes, you know, so him and David, like he says, I know when David's going to cut left. He don't have to say it. Well, we're still kind of learning that. So sometimes I'm like, where are you going? You cut left or right? And he's just wanting me to be able to know. I don't always know it yet. You know what I'm saying? And so that communication is something that we're learning, something we're evolving. But there are times when we have a pop-up and he wakes up and I think out loud. What are we gonna put up for our pop-up tomorrow? I don't know. I'm wondering if we should have tables. Should we have a round rack or straight? Like, are you asking me? Or are you just, you know? And yes, I'm asking him. But if he don't want to participate in the conversation, I'm okay with having a conversation by myself out loud. You know, because I'm thinking I'm putting him on his mind. So then we wake up the next day and I'm like, so what we doing? Like, I don't know yet. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't know what to do if we don't know what we're doing, you know? And so I have a hard time figuring out that place. And so, but he has it in his mind because then if I come and I'm like, well, because to me, sometimes I'm like, if he says, I don't know, I take that literally like, I don't know. And I'm like, all right, well, I know. And I'll start doing it. And then quickly realize, you know, with your partner, you can feel a vibe. What's known doesn't need to be said. And I'll get a vibe or maybe I'll go set up the table or something and I'll come back and just set up differently. And I just have to learn to ride that feeling when he's in that mood is what I learned. Because it's also trust. Not the trust of like, oh, I don't trust this person or it's dishonesty or distrust. It's trusting that he knows what he's doing. Even though he's not articulating it, he's not thinking out loud like I think out loud. He's just doing it. So step back, chill, and follow his lead. Because, you know, he doesn't, you know, not all leaders have to be like, I'm leading, follow me, we're doing it this way. No, some of the best leaders are just like, you know, and when you know when to switch that role, right, you just fall in line. And so that for me, that's been the toughest in the beginning because like when we're setting up the pop-up, we might have had different visions of what it looked like. We might have had the same vision, but the communication of that vision was a little off until boom, we got set up. And it was like, oh, okay, now I see, you know. And so that's just respecting like, well, I need to hear every single detail, but he doesn't need to explain every single detail. So it's that give and take. It's that ebb and flow. It's like, all right, I'm not going to push him to explain every single detail with me. I'm going to just fall back and follow the flow. And then there are times where like, sometimes we push ourselves real hard and we're tired. And usually, luckily, I don't think we've ever been just like, when we have been dead tired, both dead tired at the same time, we just calls it quits. But usually if I'm tired, then he has energy. Or if he's tired, then I have energy and we take up the slack for one another. So there may be a time where he's like, I'm like, what would the pop-up gonna look like today? He's like, I don't know and I don't care. I'm like, bet, I got you. Just pack all the clothes, pack all the heavy boxes, and then go chill. And you come back and you can touch up the details as you want to. So that's being in sync like that is has gotten so much better for us, you know, but sometimes it just depends on what, like today we had something we were doing and he was at work all day and I expected all of that, but I know he comes in, you know how you can get, you're like, I've been at work all day, but I'm not finished with work and I got to do this. So I'm just here and I'm going to do it. We're going to go, we're going to get it done and that's it. But I was already prepared to just let him chill. I just needed his help with one thing, you know, but you know, so it was like, no, babe, it's cool. relax. I got this. Just help me pick up this one thing, and I got everything else figured out. And I think when he heard that, hopefully he was like, you know what, you're right. Hopefully. And so it's just those moments, you know.
And I'd say it's communication. I'd say it's communication and understanding how one another think. You know what I mean? Like the book Love Languages, just understanding each other. Because for me in those situations, it's more of, I guess, like a macro versus a micro thing. Like I'm seeing the whole picture and I'm visualizing the day. So I'm like, all right, this is how the day is gonna go. People gonna come in. You know what I mean? If this happens, this is what we're gonna do. But if this happens, this is what we're gonna do. And so for me, it's kind of like a read and react. It's like, I don't know, but I've thought through all the scenarios.
Right.
And I've thought through all the possibilities.
I think that's a guy trait. Like, I think that is just, and I don't say uniquely like women don't do it, but I think that's just a guy trait of, we always look like we're not worried when something is to worry about, because we've sat there and thought about, all right, if this happens, we're going to do this. If that happens, we're going to do this. So, and it's funny, I guess in the coupling aspect of being a couple, usually the female part of the couple is like, so what are we going to do? And the guy's like, yeah, we'll figure it out when it happens, or I'm not going to worry about it, or there. And what I've learned directly, and even just in business, is sometimes you need to be able to say first, like, look, this is what we're doing. If this should happen, I got a plan. And that's usually just enough to be able to move whatever the next thing is. Because what I found just from business in general is, if we're both aligned to know what the goal is, as a guy, I don't care how we get there. Like, I could care less about the path. If I know the game is at the end, we're getting here.
Yeah.
The semantics of it all, like, look, we can discuss them. We can say whatever's happening, but truthfully, we don't know what's gonna happen. Like you guys are both doing retail. So in the reality of retail is, you might come to an event that was supposed to have the sun out, and now it's freezing cold. You got tank tops, and everybody's like, yeah, that'll be dope 6 months from now. And you just sitting there, you know.
It's usually the opposite with Houston. We bring out the cold weather gear and it's hot.
Right. But I'm just saying, like, being able to make those quick pivots. With the bookstore, how do you guys balance that relationship, working, business? I know you guys are starting now, so like this, you guys are at the point that I would say this is the romantic part of it. Like, we got the business out, look at it.
No, it got really real fast.
Quick. So basically, like Dominique said, basically it's like by me being in a rap group, being able to work out that partnership and that brotherhood, and same thing he said, taking his feelings under consideration and knowing if he feels strongly about something, I gotta ride with that, and finding the silver lining in it, and finding, how do I fall in line. With the bookstore, it was really putting emotion, like cutting off the emotion, and not allowing that to usurp the super objective of why we're doing this. We have this funny story about the shares. You want to tell that?
We had an argument last week because this is very different for David and I. We can't ever work together. We don't have to use work personalities with each other. So I am a alpha female. Everybody who knows I am just that kind of person. But in a marriage with David, I really get to just be like, that's whatever my man say, y'all. I'm right there. Yes, my king. I'm on that king shit. But when it comes time to work, like I'm a leader at work, like I run shit. So it's like, oh, we working? And so my work mind comes on. So I'm talking to David like, yeah, we need to get this. We got to do this. We got to get this done. And he's got his own set of ideas. He's got his work mind going. So we were having that moment last Friday. We were trying to figure it out. And David was in the living room and I was in our bedroom. And I just remember yelling in the living room. I was like, well, fine then. I'm going to sell my shares of the business. I don't even care no more. I'm not owning. I was so agitated. So and then this man looked me in my eyes and laughed dead in my face and said, what you gonna share? He's like, what you gonna sell? We don't have nothing. Well, how much is this? I was so upset because I felt like I had a game-ending moment in that argument, but it is very different. I would say the two things that you have that we're gonna have to balance. Number one is still my spouse. And in the midst of having a business relationship, I cannot lose my marriage behind a business. So it is still learning the balance. Cause like I go to work and cuss everybody out and go home. Like, cause I don't care about the people at my job. It don't matter. I don't need this funky job. My husband got money. It is what it is. But I can't do that with David because he's my husband. And so I have to really curb the way that I speak to him because I don't want to damage the relationship in the midst of our entrepreneurship. And then the second thing that I have realized now when we are casually hanging out or talking in the car, we talk about the business and we talk about books that we ordered. And it naturally happens. But I want us to be very mindful of not talking about work and being able to turn it off when it's time to turn it off. And right now it's new and it's exciting and we're ordering books. But I always want us to be mindful of like our marriage is not this whole bookstore. Like it's only one component of it. And our marriage still needs to be tended to and cared for independent of this bookstore. So we'll have to start being mindful of like when business hours are. Because now our pillow talk be like, well, did you order that book? Well, do you want to get that? What you think?
And I think we do a pretty good job of that. Like we have time designated for hanging out. Like we go kick it. But I think there's right in that you do just any couple in general, not just us. You have to have separate. Like you gotta break it off because if you don't, you will find yourself focused on the business all the time. You'll be planning vacations like, yeah, we're gonna take a vacation, but it's really a business trip. And it's like, man, come on, dog. Like, no, just do the touristy thing, be the tourist, take the pictures, do the things, and you'll be all right.
That's really hard when you're passionate about your business. And I can't imagine David and I taking a trip and not going to a bookstore. I cannot imagine Meek and Brandy taking a trip and not trying to thrift.
But
it's different when your business is your love.
Yeah.
But you do have to. But we just want to be mindful that it doesn't turn into like just total networking when we were supposed to be like maxing and relaxing. And we over here like, well, let's go try to meet up with this author and see if we can get these accounts. Like, we just want to be mindful how we do it. So
And I think if you lead with that in the beginning, it won't be a problem.
See, that's the interesting part, but that's the part I said, that's the romantic part. Like when you first start the business, everything is the business. Like no matter what it is, you're in love with it. You can't help but go places and be like, hey, you know what? There's a bookstore over here that I saw, and you start looking for it, becomes part of it. I think one of my favorite things about moving to Houston was half price books. Like I loved going into physical bookstores. So
everywhere.
So like it used to excite me, and then I remember this is just me and books. I would go to Dallas when I just was like, I just don't feel like being in Houston. The half price books that's in there, I didn't know they were based in Dallas, but that bookstore it's like the size of a Sears. Like it's by far the biggest bookstore I've ever seen, and then you just go in there and it's I don't know, it's amazing. It's my love affair with books, but so I get it, but I think that you guys have the right idea now if you're setting the tone of, okay, we probably talk about this way too much right now. And but like I said, at the beginning, it's supposed to be that. Like that's just the process of business is like you don't know what you don't know, and all the new ideas are right now. Like this is the ideas. Okay, how do we move things a little bit faster? And what I like about having you guys both on here at the same time is you're both independent, like entrepreneurs, but you guys are kind of at different places. Because I think you've been doing Curators at Dopest for about a year, a little bit over a year, 2 years now, maybe.
Almost 2 years.
Yeah. I was gonna say
April will be 2 years, man.
Yeah. So at this point,
technically,
for you guys, you're a proven concept. Like you're like, look, we got this pretty much down to a science. It works.
I don't know if I'd say all that.
No, but I mean, there, there are things that you can't do. Like, I love what you guys did. I didn't even get to like how you guys dealt with COVID. When there was no place to go, I was like, Instagram became, listen, let me show you this home shopping network club. You just scroll to the left. I got these here. This is a small. You can send me the message here. And I think that the ability to pivot, there, and I think that's the value when your partner's in your house. It's a little bit easier to pivot and have the discussion of like, okay, wait, what are we finna do? And you weather the storms together. I have a question for you guys that is going to be the main question I think most people wonder. You get in an argument the night before,
Right.
but you have an event the next day. Like, how do you emotionally navigate that? And I know you guys are touching on it, but like,
I don't talk for nobody. I don't have to live in the house. We on top. When we walk out our door, the arguments stay at the house. Period. That's just how we function.
Oh yeah, it's us versus them. You know what I mean? We lead the weapon. We back to back.
Yeah.
You know I mean, we a Gundam. We moving together when we get outside the house.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? I learned that from learned that from the rap group, man. You know, like the show must go on.
Man,
having been a waiter for so many years, it's like you're not always up for that shift for whatever reason. You know, whatever happened the night before, or you're going through something or whatever. But man, you know, you eat what you kill. So you gotta go out there and still get it.
Yeah, I remember one time. I don't even remember the argument. I just remember the feeling of the argument, what was going on. But man, everything in me wanted to just jump out the car and go in the house. And I was like, "Oh, you lucky we finna about." What did I say? You lucky we about to go get this money. That was it.
So you basically Nino Browned him. You just Nino Browned him real quick. It's just like
might have been a little.
I didn't want to talk over
the struggle, but soon as things got on, you know, all those feelings left. And I think by our pillow talk that night was probably trying to assess what happened. I was thinking this, and he was like, "I know what you were thinking because you say what you're thinking, but I was thinking this," and I was like, "Well, I didn't know because you didn't say." And so now I know after watching your actions how to respond the next time this comes up. So
go ahead, David. What were you gonna say?
Well, I'll also say this, you know, like just what Dominique was saying, like the fact that, you know, when you're going out in this public, you have to, and it's not faking a front, but it's it's understanding the super objective. Like we came here, we had a mission, we need to accomplish the mission. And when you get home, you can work all this stuff out. You know what I'm saying? Definitely try to work it out before, because we're really big proponents of, you know, like if it's something wrong in the midst of us, like don't go to bed angry or hostile at each other. But at the end of the day, you have to work it out. You have to figure it out, work it out, handle your business. And if you want to go back home and knock out, drag out, so be it.
I sometimes feel like a lot of the problems that we might have, like especially if it's the one like before you walk out the door, like sometimes it's probably gonna be about the business. And usually if you let the day happen, it will kind of solve it itself. It's like, what was you saying? What was you upset about? Oh, well, I was gonna say I was upset about where we placed the books, but around noon we moved them and it's not really an issue anymore, so we don't have to talk about it. And so if you kind of play the day out, it really does kind of, the problems kind of alleviate themselves. Not always, and sometimes you got to talk about it, but it gets money over everything.
Yeah, that's what I mean by trust. If you just trust the process, you know, even when you're not sure y'all are in sync or you're not sure they're in the same page, that's why you have a mission statement. Because when all things round back to what your core values are, why that you're doing it, then those little bumps in the road, you can just be like, all right, you know what, let me just, because I know why we're doing this. And exactly what Dara said, this business ain't finna break our relationship. So this is something that it's a new problem to solve, and we can solve this later after we get this money.
Let me ask you guys a question.
It's gonna feel much easier to solve once this money.
And there's a word for it. It's professionalism.
Professionalism.
That's what it is.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
So let me
happens, you know.
Let me ask you guys a question. So did you take a traditional approach towards starting your business? Like, did you sit down and do a full-on business plan?
To start it, no.
Yeah, we did. And that's actually the inception of class, because Dara was. Can you go ahead and share that, please?
So we've always talked about class, and I'm just the kind of person that I don't want to be defeated in anything. And so I don't know what the catalyst was. It was something that happened. I was upset about something, not like with David, but I think just with our life in general, and just was really in prayer, like, Lord, I know we're not idiots, and I know you we have a good idea. We just need to know where to start. So I was literally like driving around the city. I was like praying about it. I was like, Lord, we don't have no money. All we got is a good idea. You're going to have to help us if you want this to happen. So in the midst of that, I rode to Third Ward. I rode to Project Rose Houses, asked a question about how to do a pop-up. They sent me to over by Crumville off of Elgin and Emancipation. They were like, go to this building. They help start small businesses up. So I went to the building, went inside, and the dude was like, he's like, what do you need? I was like, I'm trying to start a business. He's like, is it a Black business? I was like, am I Black? He was like, yes. And so I started talking to him, find out it was this grant program and it's called EEDC. Yeah. And they were specializing in creating small businesses for Emancipation Boulevard. And so through that, you would apply for the program. And David was the one who took the classes. And they taught him how to do everything, start to this, do a business plan, funding, everything you need to get started. And that's literally how we got this ball rolling. How it went from pillow talk to an actual process for us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we did eventually do a business plan through the SURE program, which is at University of Houston, which is a similar kind of program that helps out minority entrepreneurs, right?
Yeah, stimulating urban renewal through entrepreneurship is what SURE stands for.
But I mean, curators of dopeness, we really took that adage, you know what I mean, turn a 2 to a 4 to an 8 to a 16. I mean, you know what I mean, a lot of the basic street principles, you know what I mean, are principles for business, you know what I mean, and that's another aspect of it too. Like you said, we want to empower the culture. It's like, hey, if you can do this, you can do this, because it's the same. It's the same.
Yeah. So when I started, when I started ACE Consulting Services, I did the SURE program, and I did a business plan and everything for ACE, and it was going to be the consulting aspect of it and all of that. But, you know, I don't know. I just kind of, I don't know. I guess after the health issues I had, and then after retiring from work, I was just kind of like, I don't know. You know, first I was just chilling. I was healing. And so you think about, I had heart surgery on Halloween of 2018. And then so March of 2019 is when we started the business. So I had been out of work for a while. And I started noticing just breaking from the matrix of work, even though I was struggling with my health, but breaking from the matrix of work was just changing how I thought. And a lot of creativity was coming back because I had so much time on my hands and so much time by myself because everybody else was in school. Everybody else, I'm like, I'm finally off, but everybody else is at work too. So I just had a lot of time to myself to be, you know, do what I do. Yoga, meditation, all those things started opening up different realms of creativity. So when he came talking about let's do a business, I was in a space to be supportive because luckily I was able to retire and the bills were paid and I had all this extra time on my hand. And so, you know, it was just great. So I was like, babe, you should do the SURE program too. And so he was like, bet, let's do it. And so he went in and he did his round of the SURE program. And then that's when he did write the business plan for, I guess that was the fall semester, huh?
Yeah.
We started in March and he started the SURE program in August, which is about a semester long program. And so that's when he wrote the business plan. And, you know, we actually had more direction to what we were just kind of flowing our way into. And so we're already at a point right now. I guess COVID was like a cocoon, like a hibernation for us to where so many ideas were incubated in the incubation period. And now that we're able to execute some of these things, it's just, gosh, you know, we're just eager for growth. We have dreams that we didn't have in the beginning and plans that we didn't even know we were going to have at this point. Like,
let's show them the skates.
Yeah. Oh, and the skates. So the skates, yeah. So I brought one of, I put one of them up. This is my daughter's skate right here. And so it was just COVID, you know, we were pivoting with the clothes and everything. And we started doing online shopping. We started doing big online shopping, like going on IG Live and showing a lot of stuff. We set up our tent in the backyard, just like we tried to make it to where, like, if you were on IG Live watching us, you were actually in our pop-up. We wanted to make it feel like that, and it did. I mean, people loved it. We called some of our friends and was like, hey, we're going on live, you know, just call in and we're going to shop for you, you know, and you know, they called in and then their followers saw, and when they were calling in, we were talking to the individual people, and it just was a lot of fun. And so from there, we started doing because not everybody wants to be on live. We started doing private sessions, and we figured out a little template of questions to ask people, what we know already, what people like, your favorite color, team, basketball, football, high school, college area where you grew up, and just pull selections for people. And we did those individual shopping sessions, you know, like that too. But then I started scrolling IG and seeing people skate. Right. And I was like, oh yeah, I have skates. I got some skates. So I pulled out my skates and realized they needed like new wheels for me to be able to skate outside. And then they were kind of heavy, so they needed different modifications. And I just started YouTube University at that point. And so I
come home one day and I just hear
I had been watching skate videos for like 3 days. Every day he walks in, I guess it's different than watching me sleep every day. When he come home, I try to pretend like I've been up. Hey, how was your day? You just woke up. Because I ain't got no job, you know what I'm saying? So, and then, you know, he's tired from work, and I got all this energy because I've been asleep all day. But then he started coming home, and I wasn't asleep all day. I was watching skate videos, and then you hear the drill going. He's like, what are you doing? And then I came up with these. I was like, I'm doing this. And he's like, whoa. So when you skate, it becomes like shoes. And then when you start making sneaker skates, you're like, I want all my sneakers to be skates, you know? And I'm like, I can't afford this. Y'all, please buy. I literally, my first post was like, please buy, because I need to make more skates. If you want to support a skate addict, a skate making addict, buy a pair of skates. Because I just want to make some. I can't make any more for myself. And so the orders actually started coming in. I'm surprised at where it's going, where it's growing, and the potential, you know, for it. There's a Black woman, right? I don't know her name. I can't remember her name, but I do know she's in Nashville, Tennessee. There's a skate called the Moonlight Roller. And so she has like $1 million in revenue coming in already because she was going to open up a skating rink. Talking about pivoting. She was planning to open up a skating rink, and she was designing her own rental skate, right? So she wanted to design a really nice, affordable, functional rental skate for when you go to her skating rink and you rent your skates. She wanted them to be stylish. She wanted different colorways, all these different things. And so when COVID happened, she was like, oh my God, what do I do? She had all these rental skates already going into production. She started selling them. So now Moonlight Roller, you hear about those cheap Impala skates, and you hear about Moxie's is a big brand of skates, but Moonlight Roller is right up there with the two of them now. And she's a Black woman, and she is killing it. And so she couldn't open up the rink, but what she did was she bought a trailer, and she would like have different skate parties outside at different parking lots. And she would pull up the trailer. Inside the trailer were the rental skates and the DJ, and you just have these skate parties.
Nice.
Yeah. So her model is something that really, really inspires me. And so, I mean, from there, it's just like, wow, this can actually be something, you know, if you really put some passion behind it and some planning.
So I want you guys to know you guys are helping out couples. And if you don't mind, I know we're coming up on an hour. Can I take about 20 more minutes of your time? Are y'all okay with that?
Oh, yeah.
Make sure. I ask permission first because you find yourself here for 3 hours wondering what happened. But one of the things I want to ask, because like I said, a lot of when I brought this up and told people this is what I was going to be talking about, they were really excited because half of the couples were entrepreneurs. and they wanted to bring their significant other, or probably were looking for something they could do with their significant other. So I like to ask the questions that you may not think about a lot. Like, what is a point that you guys have experienced where you were like, I don't know if this is it. Like, I mean, I believe in it, but I don't know.
Nope.
You guys, you guys. I'd like to tell you, you guys in the honeymoon phase. This is good, right?
They just saying no. I'm saying yeah. No. It's definitely happened. Sorry, I love you, honey, but I am an employee. Like, I don't have no lie to tell y'all. I'm not no boss, sister. I don't have no entrepreneur spirit. I need to get a check. I want insurance. I'm not tripping on none of that. I don't have to work for myself. I don't have to be independent. I want my shit to hit on the 1st and the 15th. Like, that's me. So this whole thing was scary to me. Like, I wanted to have a bookstore in the romantic ideal of like, oh my God, I have a bookstore and we're in some type of rom-com movie. But like the nitty-gritty of owning a business, she is not the one. Like she was not built for that. So there were many times we were doing this and talking about how to get the money and everything. And we both have real jobs. Like this is not, I ain't got no lie to tell y'all. I ain't no like rapper and I be acting like this is all I do. Nigga, we gotta be at work on Monday. So
Yes.
for us, it's this whole time been scary. When we opened, like the first day people were buying books and they were supporting us. The first day we didn't sell a book, I was like, oh shit, it's over. I'm just like, I am definitely the dreadful person. I was like, it's over. We're not gonna sell another book ever again. Go back to work. We are finished. So, we done, bro. Pack it up.
But I think, I probably talked about it earlier, the yin and yang aspect, right? So my thing was, okay, my dad and my mom were both entrepreneurs, and so I have always been a worker, but I knew that in my DNA it existed. My grandfather was an entrepreneur, many of my uncles, aunts were. So it's just like, okay, let me kind of tap into that mentality and see what I can use for the bookstore. And so I was able to do so. But I will say again, I had to cut the emotion part off and be like, okay, my wife is very pragmatic and logical, and she has a lot of great ideas that she can give to this to make it go further. And so that's what I was like, okay, let me shut up my internal and listen to her, because obviously she sees something that I don't necessarily see. And I can say honestly, every time that I've done that, it's worked. Every time she's been the missing link for everything. So I'm grateful for her, even though she be talking about slow job, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. And I think the inverse of that is that for me, in the midst of me feeling like coming up with all these ideas, because I'm like, it's 9 ways to skin a cat. I'm always thinking of another way to make money. I'll be like, look, we got to get merch. We got to be able to sell a bunch of stuff. We're going to sell kids stuff. We're going to sell adults. Like I'm constantly doing that. But I think David, the inverse is that David is like, hey, slow and steady wins. Like Rome wasn't built in a day. Like some days we're gonna make more money, some days we're gonna make less money. It is fine. Like you need to just relax. We don't have to abandon ship yet. And so he's the calm to my pragmatic that goes, you may have a million ideas, but we don't have to implement all million today. We don't have to do all of them right now. Like just give me 10 and we'll work on these and then we'll come back. We'll see how they go. So it's yin and yang there.
That sounds like me. I'm having all the ideas, and he's the one that sets the pace. Like, hey, calm down. You gotta relax. You know what I'm saying?
Relax, baby.
I was like that too, there at one point, and he was like, "You gotta relax. You can't treat it like a lick." I'm like, "But ain't we curating dope?"
I'm imagining like we selling dope, baby. I'm like, we gotta flip it into a 20.
All the licks.
Marathon.
But yeah.
I mean, and it's interesting that you guys say that, because I think that goes to the partnership aspect, because I always look at business is like driving a car, and the thing about a car is it only has one steering wheel. So at some point, even in races, the cannonball races, there's a navigator and there's a person driving the car. Somebody's job is just to be about action. Somebody's job is to be like, look, here's some routes. And then, and you work that partnership out. Because I've always thought that your best partner is probably going to be your mate, as long as, and David, you hit it earlier, as long as you know how to cut your emotions off when you go into the business side of it. Right. Because I know even as I do stuff with my wife, I'm the least emotional person about business. Like I always tell her how I am a business partner with my friends and how I'm a business partner with you. I have to learn how to talk to you differently, or you have to learn how I talk is not an aggressive, like, look, we can go to blows at any time, but it's like, hey, I'm going to be passionate about it, because the one thing that I know above anything else, probably the number one lesson in business is when it's your business, when it's your idea, nobody cares as much as you do. Even if it's the person that you go to sleep to every night, they don't care as much as you do. And in your mind, to their day, like, you want to work, and I get it. I encourage people when I teach them about entrepreneurship. I tell them, don't quit your job. You got to eat. You have to eat food daily. So that whole idea of throw it all away and just give it all you got. I'm like, yeah, and then you homeless. And then we're talking about how everybody homeless doesn't have these other issues. They just kind of make a mistake somewhere. But
I
so
will counter that. I will counter that. And the only thing I will say against that is maybe because the bookstore, I genuinely feel it's our ideal, but even though David is the one executing it, and I'm gonna go to work and I'm gonna get the white man money, like I'm for it. I am for the business because I am for David. And so he does not care about the business more because I care about David. I ultimately care about the business just as much. I would never want to see the business fail. And he's never in this alone. Here. And so if you and your mate want to go into business together, then make sure it is like that. That has to be understood.
Well, let me clarify.
I love this because I love you.
Let me clarify this before I say. My wife bakes. She's fully about baking. Since I met her, she wants to bake. I don't care about baking. I care about her. What I mean when I say that is that if I can only go as hard as she's willing to go. And I learned that lesson early because it's business. I go hard for business.
Fair.
So when it's like you want to sell cakes, I'm like, all right, cool. We need to do A, B, and C. I'm ready to do this. All right, like she's doing cake, cupcake, dollar cupcakes. And so I'm like, well, look, if they order a certain amount, I'm down to deliver. She's like, well, I don't want to deliver. Like, no, you don't have to worry about it. I got you. We gonna get this money because, to y'all point, look, I tell all the time, my view of business is 50 Cent and Get Rich or Die Trying. I'm gonna take change. I'm a calculate. Look, my car goes. I get 32 miles to a gallon. I got about 16 gallons in there. So to get that extra little bit, I'll drive 32 miles to go get this moving to make $24. Gas only costs like $1.80. So I'm willing to do these things. And I've learned in that partnership, I have to kind of step back because I don't think it's gonna fail. I don't worry about the failure of it. I'm like, I'm gonna do everything I can to make it succeed. But I also know that when a bad day comes, it's not gonna affect me like it affects her. You know, just like I have critical hustle. So I got teammates, I got partners, I partner with people. I always look at the fact of whatever decision I'm making, I'm responsible for people. So I know like if they don't do something, it's not because they don't want to do it, they just got other stuff to do. It falls on me. So when I say it, it's not saying that you don't believe in David, but you kind of hit my point. You believe in it because you believe in your husband. Like
you talk about, I understand what you're saying. I think our situation is unique in that it is our business. So we do a business together, so we have an equal stake in it, as opposed to like Refreshingly Problematic. Refreshingly Problematic is my podcast. That's my business endeavor. David is supportive of that venture because he is supportive of me, and maybe it's neat with Daisies and Pancakes, the skate version, because that is Brandy's endeavor. He's supportive of it because that's Brandy's endeavor. But I think Class is our bookstore, and so that's a bit of a different beast in that we both are like, yo, the business had a bad day, we had a bad day. So yeah, I feel you though.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like I said, I think what you guys are doing, it's like that next step to me of partnership in a relationship, because like you said, it's your business together. Yeah. So it is a point to where, because I feel like this, if in general, if you have a bad day in the podcast, your household has a bad day. Because again, the separation may be in money, but the emotion doesn't separate once the door's closed there, because you're still a human being. You still deal with it. And that support, it's interesting because for me, I've had my business before I met my wife. So like understanding that when I have a bad day, she doesn't necessarily get why I have a bad day or what it is or why it's so important. But it's like, you know, I know what failure feels like for me. So even with her building her business, I'm like, I know what it's like to feel like you're by yourself. So even if I'm not your partner 50-50, I'm going to give you the 50-50 version of me and learn how to dial that back, because I want you to have your own thing. But I go super hard. I tell all the time, I was like, I will be the worst business partner for you because I'm going to push. I'm going to cheer you on. I'm going to be like, F them. I'm going to be like, well, this is how you might want to approach it. Don't say that. Don't say this. And it's not for anything of me trying to take over. It's just like, hey, there's your personality and then there's the business. And I think that in relationships, that's what the next thing I was going to tell you guys. Like, I ask you guys, when it comes to the I guess the approach towards your customers, because what I've learned in business is that everybody wants to negotiate with you. Everybody, like the best thing you can do, and I read this in the book, the best thing you do is write the price down. There's no room to negotiate, because for some reason, psychologically, when people see a number flat, they don't have any negotiation power. If you tell them, they're like, well, okay, well, how much for this? Or what if we do this kind of thing? So how do you guys deal with that portion of the business? Do you guys just go with the flat of like, this is the price? Or?
Well, we kind of have to, because we're limited by the MSRP on the books. So when we order them, the publisher tells us, hey, this is how much you need to charge for this book in order for you to make a profit and for it to sell. I think the only real hesitation we've had is with like shipping, right? Like we had a couple of people that were like, man, shipping is a little steep, whatever. And so we were like, okay, well, how can we solve this problem? And so we created a concept where we could deliver the book to your house within a 20-mile radius of our apartment. So that, you just you address it and just solve the problem so that everybody will benefit from it. And so, it'll help to strengthen your business.
What about for you, Brandy?
So being in the thrifting business, it's a negotiating business. It's a business that people negotiate prices already because, they know that you paid minimal for it. But what we're selling is basically the time that it takes to source it, because a lot of people don't like going into a thrift store or a dusty, Goodwill or something like that and dig and do everything. So they're willing to pay. They understand they're paying you for you sourcing the material. Now, when we started, we didn't have prices. And I noticed, I think, like you say, it's two of us in the tent, it's two of us in the pop-up. And I noticed customers coming up to Nick and saying, like, how much is this? Holding up a piece. How much is this? And he said, I'll take about, and in that little second, I could see people change. And I told him, I said, I think somewhere in that split second that it takes to think of a price, something is changing. And then I noticed too, going to other vendors and picking up a shirt saying, how much is this? And they're like, oh, it's $75. And I was like, oh, okay, that's nice. And kind of put it out. Oh, but I can give it to you for $25. And I was like, well, damn, you really upcharged me, didn't you? And so I put the two together and I was like, it made me feel like my price, when you're negotiating, oh, for you, friend, I give it to you for, they're BSing you. That's how I felt like. And I know we weren't BSing our customers. We just hadn't gotten to a point, we were starting out, we just hadn't really gotten the pricing structure down. And so I was like, yeah, I think, that slight little section, I know how I feel, but that slight little moment when you're trying to think of a price, because what do they say? You can tell body language of people who lie, and they look up to the left. That's their creative side. They're thinking of a lie. But your eyes look up to the left whenever you're trying to respond to an answer. But I think it just created a little doubt in the pricing structure. So when we put prices on, I was like, let's put prices on stuff and see what happens. Sit back, relax. Number one, took a lot of work on for us. All right. There's a book about customer service called Lessons from the Mouse. It talks about Disney. And one chapter is, what time is the 3:00 parade? And it's a book about Disney employees, how to maintain that mystique of Disney and how to always portray it to your customers. And one of the most annoying questions that any Disney employee gets is, what time is the 3:00 parade? It's literally like that. And it's like, they have to answer with a lot of spunk every time. It's at 3:00, but it starts and it'll be here at 3:15 or whatever the answer is, right? So we realized that taking that question away, we didn't realize how much that one question would exhaust us. Because imagine how many people came to our tent asking that question.
Or just imagine how many people didn't have the courage enough to ask. They look, and they don't see a price tag, and then you're just like, oh, well, they don't even ask.
Because we have a lower price point. So let's say we're in a pop-up like the hip hop vintage flea market. Sometimes we'll have a different price point. We might have a similar item, but somebody else might have a higher price point than us. They may have seen it at that one tent and see it at our tent and be like, oh, I already know this is expensive, but not realizing we have a different price point. So having those prices on the clothes really helped, and we lead with negotiations. So we offer it. We this is a price. How much does it cost? We'll like, oh, it's on the tag, but if you get 2 or more items, we'll just give you a discount. We'll bundle it for you.
Yeah, so we try to encourage bundles, you know what I mean? Because we're trying to push through the product. So it's like, you know, we price for the haggle too, you know what I mean? You price for the haggle too, but we try to price ourselves in a range, you know what I mean, comparative to our competitors, you know what I mean, that puts us in a good spot. And then with like the customer service, like I said, like I was a waiter for years, and like being a waiter and having a section is like having your own little business. It's exactly like having your own little business. That's what I would always tell young waiters, like, this is your business. You know what I mean? Take care of it like it's your own, because you're in control of all of this. You know what I mean? And anticipate. That's what they would always teach you and tell you. Anticipate potential problems, questions, anything. Already have an answer. Because if you already got an answer already, you know what I mean, pre-rehearsed, then, you know what I mean, it sounds more natural. And then, you know what I mean, like we were joking about, oh, special price for you, my friend. But I do that. I use that because I grew up in Sharpstown Mall, and they did that every weekend. We would come up in there. But I watched and I learned, and I saw what worked and what didn't work. And I use that sometimes, you know what I mean? Because, you know what I mean, I'll be honest, like we do it for the culture too. So, you know what I mean? I know how it is for Black people specifically when we go into places, you know what I mean? Sometimes to patronize them, you know what I mean? People are already rolling their eyes and they're expecting a certain kind of behavior. So like and we even do it to each other. So I always make it a conscious effort to treat us with extra special care. You know what I mean? So if you know what I mean, if I see one of us, you know what I mean, I'm gonna look out. You know what I mean? And that's just, you know what I mean, what's been put on my heart. You know what I mean?
And we realize too, in vintage, we're not selling clothes. We're selling a feeling.
Right.
And we want that customer, we want everybody to walk away from us. We don't want any buyer's remorse. We don't want, because you're thrifted, so there's not anywhere you can take it back.
Right.
You know what I mean? You can't just take it back to Macy's before 30 days if you realize it don't fit the way you like. You know, we don't want you to have buyer's remorse. We want you to be proud of that piece. Even if it's one of those pieces you're like, man, I got this piece from the Curators of Dopeness, and I didn't even wore it yet, but then let me show you. You know what I mean? We want it to be one of those proud pieces that you're going to preserve because it's vintage. We want you to remember the story. We want you to remember us. We want you to tell your friends, and we want you to come back. And so that's been really good for us. Is one thing we've been able to do is really nurture the engagement. We have everybody comes back to us, everybody. And so it's really that customer service. So we're not trying to, you know, one thing I think I was trying to really go for high price points in the beginning, and I would see him let stuff go. You know, I was the one that said, oh, they got the same shirt for $100. And somebody come and he's like, oh, $35. I'm like, babe. And he's like, it's not a lick. I'm like, but we're selling dope. So, but the thing is, the way that person felt, because maybe they did see it for $100 and they feel good, like they got a price. And so guess what? Next time they want a piece of vintage, who are they going to look at first? They're going to look at us, you know, and they're going to be proud. They're going to remember the story. And so,
then like all of this, you know what I mean?
Well, we had a question in the chat, and I want to
Go
make sure I want to address the question because I don't want to keep you guys forever.
I think we'll stay forever. Like
Casey, as we know, asked the question is, how long did it take to develop a routine formula for how things are run, and has that helped navigate your day-to-day operations, or is it day-to-day different?
It's ever evolving, and we can speak to this with the group and with the businesses. It's just ever evolving, and I love those. We call them happy accidents. You know what I mean? You have them in the studio, like you accidentally do something or you say something in a weird way, but it works, and like it just works, and you're like, all right, we're gonna keep this play, we're gonna keep this one, and we're gonna pull it out and use it. And so it's just you just ever evolving and growing, you know what I mean? A growth mentality.
Yeah, true. Because sometimes we'll have a routine that works for a while and we realize it's not working no more, or we might want to level it up, or it may not. Situation to situation as well. This particular style or solution or routine might not fit something new that we're going into, and then in creating a way to fit this new thing that we're doing, we've come up with another option as far as how our routines and stuff happen.
I think it's a lot of document. In the midst of COVID, it ain't one formula. It's a million, and we gonna try all of them. And so it's all the things. But I would say, especially with us being a new business, newer than Curators of Dopeness. We're still getting in the groove and still kind of trying to figure out what that looks like. It's so interesting because when we get orders, we do them immediately, and we're like so excited. It was like, oh my God, we got a book order. Put it in. Let's go to the post office. It's gonna be so exciting.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, I wonder when the day comes where it'd be like, because you used to hear about people taking a long time to get their orders filled. And I'm like, is it gonna be a time that's gonna come and we're gonna be like, yeah, I'll fill that order later. Like, no, it's not, because in class, customer service is important. But I wonder, just we will be overwhelmed with orders and that'll look different. So it's a live document. I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Well, I think you guys. Oh, go ahead, David. Sorry.
Well, I agree as well. I think there are a million different formulas, and so as we grow as a business, we will find what works for us, what doesn't work for us. I feel like right now we respond to problems very well that pop up, and we add them. So, like for example, what if you meet the person that doesn't want to invest in a book particularly, but they want to buy later. And so we created gift cards, and we make gift cards available because we understand, hey, you might not see a book that you like now, but you got the money right now. So just buy the gift card. And then when the time comes for you to use it, you use it. And you're not using your own money that you have in the bank. You're using the gift card money. It's just different things like that. And it just gives you, if you use your brain and you talk to your partner, you come up with a lot of interesting, great ideas that you can incorporate, So again, I think just like, Dominique and Brandy said, it's always evolving, always changing, but you find what works, you do away with what doesn't, and you push ahead.
Blessed be the flexible.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I do appreciate you guys giving me your time, and I think you guys have. Well, first, I wish you guys much success because one, I'm probably gonna shop at both of them. So if you don't get anybody else's money, you'll get mine, and I can guarantee you that. I always like to let you, if you definitely plug your business, but what's one important thing that you would tell a couple that's thinking about going into a couplepreneurship? I'm gonna brand that word. It's gonna happen.
I like it.
I like it too.
It's a dope word.
I just want to take the other E out. But go ahead.
I think the first thing is your relationship has to be strong. You got to have a strong relationship before you try to make money with your partner. Making sure you have the commitment, make sure you have being able to compromise, have communication, and compatibility. If those things aren't there as the foundation, anything you build on it will be like on a foundation of sand. It won't last. But if you have those 4 C's in place and they're under you and they're strong foundation, then you can build a business.
And so then you can find us at www.classbookstore.com, and you can find us on Facebook and Instagram. And we are new, but we're slowly building our inventory. We've got new stuff coming in every week.
YouTube.
And we are on a YouTube. David does a story time. He just finished the story time. We've got a Black History Kids story time coming up. We're super excited about that. So classbookstore.com. We would love to earn your business and be your local book dealers.
Yes. Because knowledge is dope. No.
and the Curators of Dopeness, where can we everything you guys?
Curate the Dope. You can find me on Instagram, Curate the Dope. Daisies and Pancakes, all spelled out, on IG too. And Facebook too. And I agree with David and Dara. You have to be compatible, first of all. You know what I mean? Like, they met in a bookstore, you know what I mean? They're lovers of books, so it makes sense they would have a bookstore. You know what I mean? Like, me and Brandy were 2 hip-hop kids, so it's only natural we'd be dealing in, you know what I mean, clothing and art events and things like that. It's just a natural good fit. Yeah. So, compatibility and love for each other. Like, you actually have to genuinely look across the table or next to the person and really want to see the best for them and really have that in your heart. Yeah. And if you do, I didn't care about skates until she started doing it. And then I remembered, you know what I mean, back when I was a kid,
still don't care about skating.
and how I wanted to skate. I just don't care as much as you do.
I'm obsessed. Yeah.
David don't
But-
care about reality TV as much as I do.
Right.
Yeah, but what you get attracted to is that light and that spark that it brings to your partner.
Yeah.
And that's what you fall in love with.
Yeah.
And so you do everything you can to curate that.
I think it's important to know that, you know, we always, I don't know, we always hear about a couple and it's supposed to be 50-50, but then you also have those theories that it's not always 50-50. Sometimes I'm only on 25% and he's got the 75 and vice versa. So knowing that it's okay. I think in the beginning, you know, but anytime when you're working with your coworkers, you have to turn that off where you look at that person and be like, he's not doing enough.
Mm-hmm.
He's not pulling his weight. But then you have to be honest where it's like, no, because last week I was tired. And I ain't even pick all them heavy clothes and buckets and boxes. I ain't pick up not one. So, you know, you have to trust the process. You know, you have to trust as long as you have that. And I think it's really important that you guys have a grounding mission statement, like your why. When you have a connecting why, when those times get frustrating, when those times get a little, you just go back to like, why am I doing this? And then why might be, you know, for financial stability. That why might be because my partner really loves this. And at the end of the day, when he's happy, I'm happy. And I'm going to be proud that I supported him at the end of the day, even though right now, you know, I might want to stay home. You know, that's a lot of times, you know, the pop-ups, I be wanting to stay home. He's like, no, we got to go get it. And I'm like, all right, let's get it. And at the end of the day, I think some things that I used to ask a lot, I realized, let me not ask. He's tired of me asking. I'm not going to get the answer I want anyway. Let me watch. Because Nick is a man of action. And when I remember that and I just watch the action and I just trust the process, I'm comfortable with not knowing because I know he's got it. I know, you know, he's never wrong. Then I'm just able to look at that at the end of that day, instead of being mad or frustrated or whatever those emotions are, I'm able to look at my king and be like, oh, he's always right. You know,
oh, okay. I need a recording of this. I need this.
Oh, wait, is this on the record?
Yes, it is on the record.
It shall live in YouTube.
But you know, this last statement, because I do the consulting on strength finders and stuff like that, that really look at people having different strengths. So we're like, even though Nick's a rapper, sometimes, you know, he doesn't feel like really talking to people. I'm not, I get stage fright. You put me on stage with a mic, I'm totally cold. But you put me in front of people that I can talk to and touch or whatever, I can talk and be social all day. And so that's exactly like, I know my niche and he knows his niche and he knows mine too. So it is like, I'm going to pack up the tent. I'm going to set up the tent, but I'm really tired. My social energy is low, babe. I'm like, say less. I got it. And I sit down and I save up my energy while all that heavy lifting is going on. And then by the time the pop-up starts, I'm the one that's interacting with the people. And so just knowing and appreciating that that ebb and flow and that give and take about your partner. You don't always have to think the same. You don't always have to do the same thing. That's what makes a great team, when you have different attributes that come together and form like Voltron.
Yeah, for me, it's that iconic picture from my childhood, Jordan and Pippen, flu game, where Pippen's holding up Jordan, because so often Jordan was the one holding up and carrying the team.
Yes.
But on that night, you know what I mean, he needed help. You know what I mean? On a lot of nights. And you know what I mean? That picture is, you know what I mean? That's how, you know what I mean? Sometimes you had 20% and the other person, you know what I mean? They had 120. So you just got to lean in on them. And sometimes, you know what I mean? It's vice versa.
Yeah. Sometimes you're both at 25 and you're like, you know what?
We just
hold each other
be like this. We just gonna be like this and we gonna get through it.
No, I think to say the word, I think that's dope. I mean, I think overall, you guys touched a lot of points. I think you touched what it takes to be a partner, what it takes to be in general, what it takes to be a partner, and just forget relationships, but being just a partner in itself. I think you've given great balance to how do you partner with your spouse, how to balance just the good days and the bad days, and remembering two most things that I'll take out of this that I would share with anybody is like, one, we're gonna get this money. Like that's first and foremost. Like rule number one, we're gonna get this money. And then
That's rule number two, too.
That's rule number two, too. Rule number 2 is remember rule number 1.
Well, rule number 1, I feel like rule number 1 is we're gonna get this money, and rule number 2 is when the day is over, ask, did we get this money? But also, you guys brought up the fact of separating the relationship romantically, essentially, from the business side of it. I'm a big proponent of money doesn't have an emotion. People just have emotions about money. So when it comes down to it, you start a business. Look, you break it down. This was my concept of rapping and how we used to book shows. I was like, listen, they gonna cut these lights on for one night. What they not gonna do is charge us they whole month for that one night. So we need to know what that one night costs, and then we can negotiate from there. So knowing that it's not the one order, it's not 2 orders, it's how many orders come in a month. That's when you start looking at it. Like, if we have 5 great days, that might make our whole month, and we might not sell another book. Oh well, we hit our number. It's breaking things down, at least in that format. And I think that you guys have a great balance of understanding, and we didn't even talk about it, but you guys have a good understanding of how your economics need to flow. Because in listening to both of you talk, you didn't talk about money causing an issue. Like, I get the pricing because it's always the idea when you're selling something, are you leaving money on the table? And truthfully, customer service, I've worked in sales. So the thing is, if you can provide value, money is not an issue. So from a customer service standpoint, you both said it. Having great customer service allows for you to be able to say, look, sometimes we may leave money on the table, but it's retention. Because that other guy that was 100, they spent 35 here, they gonna come back. One day we might be higher than somebody else. But hey, reciprocity. They might be like, yeah, but we got that other shirt for like 35. So, that's a beautiful thing. With the bookstore, I think you guys' approach towards it is amazing. And the reason why I say that is because you start off with the idea of like there's no black book, there's a limited amount of black bookstores in the country. So just doing that in and of itself at a time when people don't look like they're looking for books. I personally hate Kindles. I'll tell anybody, like, I hate Kindles. I like reading books. I like turning pages.
Oh, me too. Yeah.
It's just like I'm not an active reader. I'm not highlighting nothing in a book, but I like turning a page. I like putting a bookmark in and saying I'm gonna come back to that and read it later. So I think that's very important. What I will say to encourage you guys in terms of if you ever feel down, there's a bookstore in Atlanta. I think it's called Little Shop is what it's called. It's a children's bookstore. As bookstores were closing down in all around, the big bookstores and things like that, they managed to be the #1 children's bookstore in the country. And it's in old downtown Decatur. So you guys go to Atlanta a lot. So they only sell children's books. They have like a small fiction section or biography, but it's all children's books, and all the children's writers go there and they release books there. So if you ever just need encouragement of like the independent bookstore, that is a story that I think you can definitely go to, because I was always amazed. I have no children. I've been in the bookstore. I've been there many times, and I've been to their events. They do a great job for their group. So, you guys are both approaching dealing with niches, and you're doing it well. So with that being said, again, I appreciate you guys giving me your time. Thank you for doing this first episode of Couplepreneurship, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You guys have the word, get a shirt, get that done. But I want to make sure that give your social medias again. I know I have the classicbookstore.com is definitely there for people to be able to see, but I want to make sure they spell it out for people, because people can't spell. They can read, but they can't spell.
So it's Class Bookstore, CLASS book BOOK store STORE.com.
What he said.
That was the real finger spelling, guys.
It was.
I know how to finger spell.
And we're at Curate the Dope. That's CURATETHEDOPE.
And Daisies and Pancakes, DAISIES ANDPANKES.
First of all, I'm proud of myself because as I typed that in, I was
Yes.
like, man, I hope I spell it right. Because if I don't, I'm gonna be real super embarrassed.
Most
But
people want to spell it with a YS, but
now I'm better than that. But I just
we know that the grammatical rule for words that end in Y, their plural form is IES.
Thank
Exactly.
you, Brooks. Thank you, Brooks.
Thank you, books.
Thank
Class.
you, Brooks.
Yes.
thank
This
you.
has been really fun.
It was very fun.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Give me 1 second to do this outro and hold on for me here.
Okay.
So definitely I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. It's the beginning of the year. It's great to be back. It's great to be able to discuss with my friends, just going into a year where they're going to make new money, and there's nothing like new money for the new year. We bring this back to you every week, something new, something crazy. I'll probably get back to drinking next week because, hey, it's a happy hour. But again, I wouldn't do this if you guys didn't tune in, whether it was 1, 4, 7, 8, 12 million people or none. Because one, I don't like talking to myself. That's why I did something different where I interview people. But I just want to let you know that follow me at Critical Hustle. We have a lot of big things coming this year. And God bless you all, whatever God you believe in. Peace.